Hello. A few years ago, some university psychology department did a test on people's reactions to facial disfigurement. What they did was to have a student or a researcher go into a shopping centre and ask people questions as if she were conducting an ordinary survey. I'm not sure what it was about, but it was something like the current political situation, council services, or the facilities in the shopping centre itself. Something fairly neutral, in as much as the questions were general and had nothing to do with the interaction between the questioner and the questioned. The purpose of the experiment was not to find out if the local population thought the council was good or not, or whether they thought they needed another shoe shop. The purpose of the questionnaire was to see how people reacted when the questioner appeared to be facially disfigured. So the first time she went out as herself. On the next occasion, the questioner went out with prosthetic makeup that made it look as if she had a huge strawberry birthmark or a port wine mark across her face. Something like this. It wasn't even very severe so far as I remember of the pictures. Some strawberry birthmarks can be quite spectacularly disfiguring. This one was relatively innocuous so far as I remember, but it did change the look of her face. I'm afraid I couldn't find the study on the internet because that's when you type strawberry birthmark or port wine stain into Google, you get all sorts of medical information about the condition and its treatment, and I couldn't find the study in there. If somebody wants to look for it, please do. I'd be very interested in getting the link. Anyway, sorry about that, and sorry that I shall therefore be a bit scanty on the details. But the point of the exercise was to find out if people reacted differently. And they did. So far as I remember, more people would not stop to talk. They were too busy, they went straight past. And those who did stop, on average, spent a little less time. This is a general thing. It doesn't mean that everybody spent less time. It's just that, in general, there was less time spent with her. That's not to say she was abused or obviously rejected, but it was for sure that people were not reacting to her as naturally as they would have done, or as they did do, when she was not so scarred. That's because we look at faces and we need a certain reaction, and it's not a social thing. It's actually in our programming. A long time ago, it was discovered that an infant just a few days old will look at this pattern for longer than it will look at this pattern. Anyone have an idea why? Well, I'll give you 3 guesses, and while you're busy guessing, I'll carry on. Quite recently, they discovered that fetuses will look at a pattern of 3 lights arranged in this way. They shone lights into the womb. That finding blew me away. I'll put the link in the description so you can see I'm not making these things up. So anyone who tells you that a woman wearing a mask over her face can be treated like any other ordinary person, well, they're lying to you or to themselves, or both. Or they have a mental illness. When Boris Johnson says those women look like he's quite right, they do. But when people like Sam Harris say that they object to women being veiled because it's a symbol of oppression,
it has to do with a recognition that some significant percentage of the Earth's women and girls are being forced to live their lives.
You know they're all being forced to.
Some clearly are forced, and the issue is the coercion of women and girls. Now,
well, in my opinion, that's the wrong way to talk about it. There are plenty of societies which oppress their women. Unveiled Chinese women have had their babies forcibly aborted at 8 months or even murdered after full term, so that officials can meet their one-child policy targets. Now, I'd say that's oppression, and yet it hasn't caused the same fuss over here as the face veil has. Yeah, there are elements of oppression in the face veil, and certainly it hides a lot. Domestic violence, for instance. But honestly, we don't need men telling us that they don't like the veil because they have to protect us from this symbol of female oppression. High heels are also a symbol of female oppression when you come to think about it, and we don't make too much of a fuss about that. I've been known to totter about in high heels myself, in full knowledge of the sort of trouble they cause. They restrict my ability to walk, and after a while they hurt like hell, and they're bad for my back. No, it's not that the veil is a symbol of oppression, although it is. What it really is, though, it's a gag. And it's no better than the sort of gag worn by submissive sex partners in a bondage game. No, I'm not showing you a picture. I'm sailing close enough to the wind as it is. And the fact that some women say they accept the veil because it's part of their religion and it gets them closer to Allah, well, again, my own opinion is they have a personality disorder of some sort. So why do I mention Alex Jones in the title of this piece? It's because I've noticed a congruity. By the way, not a conspiracy. From time to time, you'll see that similar ideas start to soak their way through the entire fabric of society. They may, on the face of it, appear not to be related, but deep down, if you look at them, they are. Alex Jones is being gagged, and he's being gagged by politically motivated controllers of the internet. The social justice left are outraged that President Trump, who refuses to stop shouting off his mouth, will not wear a veil of political correctness over his pronouncements. Broadcasters are inviting veiled women to come into their studios and explain why wearing a facial disfigurement isn't so bad after all, and makes them feel empowered because they don't look like women anymore. And apologists excuse this uncomfortable behaviour in the name of diversity. Will someone tell me what sort of diversity this might be? When Boris Johnson says that women in burqas look like letterboxes, the only mistake he has made is in referring to the letterbox analogy in reference to the burqa. Actually, he's referring to the niqab. The burqa is the one that covers the eyes as well, in which case the woman doesn't look like... She looks like... But back to the veil. Yes, as a society, we have been psychologically hijacked by the idea that veils are a good thing, even though deep down we know they're not, and they make us uncomfortable. And that's why we feel uncomfortable when we see a woman walking around in one of those things. It started with speech, and now it's progressed to material. Veils might start as a protection and a refuge. After all, the veil was supposed to hide women from the lustful attentions of men with no self-control. And PC language started out as a genuine attempt to make the world better. Veils can be made of anything. They can be made of cloth, or they can be made of words. But whatever they are made of, they start out as a quick fix solution to a real problem. And then not only do they not fix the problem, they also end up as a trap. I'm very grateful for financial contributions, but if you don't want to give money, you can still help a lot by sharing this and other videos I've made. Also, remember to check your subscription from time to time, as sometimes subscriptions get erased for one reason or another. Till next time.